Good morning. Our opening words today are from Martha Kirby Capo, entitled, If Just for This Hour. In this hour, may we be open to a rededication of treasured friendships and a renewal of spirit. May we relinquish the worries and anxieties of the past week, slow down, breathe, and rest. If just for this hour, through this community of faith, may we regain our strength for living and living well.
Alarm clock screaming, bare feet hit the floor. Yeah, it's off to the races, everybody out the door. I'm feeling like I'm falling behind, it's a crazy life. 90 miles an hour, going fast as I can, trying to push a little harder, trying to get the upper hand. So much to do in so little time, it's a crazy life. It's ready, set, go, it's another wild day when the stress is on the rise. In my heart I feel you say, just breathe, come and rest at my feet.
Yeah.
And be, just be. Chaos calls, but all you really need is to just breathe. Third cup of Joe just to get me through the day. Wanna make the most of time, but I feel it slip away. I wonder if there's something more to this crazy life. I'm busy, 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 and it's no surprise to see that I only have time for me, me, me. There's gotta be something more to this crazy life. I'm hanging on tight to another wild day when it starts to fall apart. In my heart I hear you say, just breathe, come and rest at my feet. And be, just be. Chaos calls, but all you really need is to take it in, feel your lungs, the peace of God that overcomes. Just breathe. Let your weary spirit rest, lay down what's good and find what's best. Just breathe. Just breathe. Just breathe. Come and rest at my feet. And be, just be. Chaos calls, but all you really need is to just breathe. Just breathe.
Good morning. My name is Karma Amos, and I'm honored to serve as the minister of the Unitarian Universalists of Central Delaware and to welcome you to worship this morning. We are glad that you are here. We hope that you will find ample room in this community for your spirit and for yourself to breathe today. We continue to be grateful for the technology that allows us to worship together online and to continue building community in other ways. Thank you in advance for your patience and grace with any delays or glitches we may experience. In addition to our worship each Sunday at 10, we meet on Tuesday nights at 7 for a more informal time of checking in and sharing. Consider joining us for that gathering. And by way of announcements today, next week we'll have a special guest with us, not only for worship, but for a workshop afterwards. Dr. Greg Carey, seminary professor and biblical scholar, will be here to talk about something on most of our minds in the last years especially, and that's how to understand people who may be at great odds with us in terms of politics or ideology. This is a time to think about how in the world we might find common ground. So I encourage you to come for that if you're able. Now, as we prepare ourselves for worship, I do invite you to take a deep breath as we reaffirm our intentions to be a radically welcoming community. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you've been, whatever you've done, whatever your religious beliefs are or aren't, you're welcome in this spiritual community. However you move in this world, how much or how little is in your bank account or wallet, and however you are feeling in these moments, you and all of who you are welcome in this spiritual community. We're all enhanced by being together.
When the world swirls about us and chaos seems the order of the day, we always have a choice to bring ourselves back to center and balance. We light our chalice today, honoring the light that reminds us of this choice and of the need we all have to stop our rushing, to pause and pay attention, lest we miss the blessings of this moment and day, and to gather our strength to face life more ready and equipped. We light this chalice to give ourselves permission to rest.
Please join me in our words of affirmation. Love is in the spirit of the church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Slow down, recharge, take a breath and remember who you are. Slow down, recharge, take a breath and remember who you are. Slow down, recharge, take a breath and remember who you are. Slow down, recharge, take a breath and remember who you are. Slow down, recharge, take a breath and remember who you are. Slow down, recharge, take a breath and remember who you are. Slow down, recharge, take a breath and remember who you are.
Good morning. I'm Wendy Pickett, and I'm a charter member of UUCD, and I currently serve on the Board of Trustees, as well as the Leadership Development Committee, the Worship Committee, and the Stewardship Team. Each week at UUCD, we include a brief UU moment in our worship service that serves to make us aware of and to nurture our connection to the larger body of Unitarian Universalists and the Unitarian Universalist Association that binds us together. For our UU moment today, we want to highlight the fact that the concept and practice of retreat, of slowing down and taking time to renew ourselves, is a deep value of Unitarian Universalism. In fact, there is a vibrant network of retreat centers, camps, and conferences that offer experiences of growth, connection, spiritual renewal, and community throughout each year. Each of these centers identifies with the UU principles and traditions. For example, there are camp and conference centers in Adirondack, New York, Honeywood, Ontario, Rowe, Massachusetts, Sturgis, Michigan, Star Island in New Hampshire, Lenoka Harbor, New Jersey, Highlands, North Carolina, Redlands, California, Saco, Maine, Cass Lake, Minnesota, and Kerrville, Texas, among others. If you're interested in attending a personal or group retreat to rest for a while and renew your spirit in community, there's more information available on the UUA website at uua.org and search for retreat. It's now our time of joys and concerns when we offer one another the opportunity to share very briefly what is most on our hearts right now, life's celebrations and concerns. And as you do so, we invite you to light a candle in your own space. Through the action of sharing and kindling a flame, we give energy to our best thoughts, meditations, sympathies, celebrations, and prayers. We hold these as sacred in our collective hearts. We would also like to invite anyone new to the community to introduce yourselves if you would like. We welcome you warmly and would be pleased to light a candle in honor of your connection with us and whatever joys and concerns you carry in your hearts. I want to take this opportunity to light the first candle, and this will be a candle for appreciation and gratitude. Have a real match. This candle is appreciation and gratitude to Mark Gerald and Yolanda Jackson. Mark has provided leadership for nearly the past 10 years as the chairperson of the Social and Environmental Justice Committee, and we are thankful for his many years of dedicated service. And we welcome Yolanda as the new chairperson, appreciating her willingness to chair this very important committee. And she brings such passion and care to it. I am so grateful she accepted the invitation to do that role. And that committee is so close to her heart as the activities and projects are so central to UUCD's mission. So with gratitude and appreciation. At this time, I invite you to change your view to gallery view in the upper right corner of your screen so that you can see everyone who's here. And as you feel led, please unmute your microphone and share your joy and concern and light your candle if you have one. You can watch the mute signals on the lower left of each person's video stream to see if anyone else is unmuted. It's best if we share one at a time, and then please mute your mic after you have shared. I'm lighting this one final candle for the joys and concerns that were not spoken by those of us here, and in solidarity with others in our community who could not be with us today.
As Unitarian Universalists, a central part of our worship, in person, online, is the opportunity we all have to practice the art of generosity and the spiritual practice of gratitude. Our gifts to our congregation are what allow our communities to live into our calling and mission. We are grateful to you for the many ways you have supported our community, including your financial pledges and offerings. Your gifts matter, and it's one of the ways that you make this world a better place. Thank you for your passion and your generosity. For those who are making pledges or want to contribute to UUCD, please visit uucd.org and click on Support UUCD for more information about how to donate online. Our offertory for today is Meditation on Breathing by Sarah Dan Jones, performed by the choir of the First Unitarian Society of Denver.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe breathe out loud, when I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out loud. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out loud. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out loud. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out loud. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out loud. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out loud. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out loud.
Our reading today is from Rainer Maria Rilke in Sonnets to Orpheus, Part 1, 22. We set the pace, but this press of time, take it as a little thing next to what endures. All this hurrying soon will be over. Only when we tarry do we touch the holy. Young ones, don't waste your courage racing so fast, flying so high. See how all things are at rest. Darkness and morning light, blossom and book.
Occasionally, often, when I offer sermons or reflections, I am speaking primarily to myself and inviting you to listen in on a lesson I need to learn, on the off chance that some of you might also. And today is one of those days. My hope is that there are others of you who, like me, may need or may benefit from this reflection about giving ourselves permission to rest. I begin with a confession. I am an overachieving, overfunctioning, overextended, hyper-responsible, busy person. I do not only what I am required to do for my jobs, I go overboard and do much more. Now, I used to see this as a point of pride, a selling point for why I'm a good employee or a good enough person. But now I know this is a character flaw in need of serious remediation. Michael reminded me this week of Brene Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection, because she devotes a chapter to this topic of rest, which she also couples with play, rest and play. And she says, in today's culture, where our self-worth is tied to our net worth, and we base our worthiness on our level of productivity, spending time doing purposeless activities is rare. In fact, for many of us, it sounds like an anxiety attack waiting to happen. We've got so much to do and so little time that the idea of spending time doing anything unrelated to the to-do list actually creates stress. We convince ourselves that playing is a waste of precious time. We even convince ourselves that sleep is a terrible waste of our time. She goes on to talk about the disturbing things that she learned in her research about sleep debt, a term for not getting enough sleep, and its consequences. And she says that by and large, we need to radically change our thinking about the value of rest and play. That if we really want to experience joy and meaning in our lives, we need to become intentional about cultivating sleep and play and about letting go of exhaustion as a status symbol and productivity as self-worth. Well, rereading this work by Brene convicted me and also prompted me to do some more digging. And I found these sleep statistics interesting. In terms of how much sleep people get per night in the United States, the beginning baseline is that most adults need at least 7 hours of sleep every night, but many of us do not get it. We are out of control on what is called short sleep duration, another way of saying what Brown called sleep debt. An estimated 35% of adults do not get enough rest. And according to the Centers for Disease Control research, here in Delaware, we're at the highest level of that, with 38 to 45% of Delawareans receiving insufficient sleep on a regular basis. Apparently, moving to Montana or Minnesota might help us, though I'm not entirely sure why. The CDC also links insufficient sleep with a number of chronic diseases and conditions like diabetes and heart disease and depression. And the American Psychological Association says that just an extra 60 to 90 minutes of sleep a day could make us happier and healthier people. There are, of course, more fascinating statistics about sleep patterns than I have time for. And sleep is really just one aspect of the topic of rest, which encompasses much more. But rest is something that we need. And there is a spiritual foundation for this, as well as a physiological one. In the mythology of the Hebrew Bible, for example, even God rested, needed to rest. After the 6 days of creation, the 7th day was observed by God as Sabbath, a day to relax, look around and enjoy the fruits of God's labor, a time to really take it all in, appreciate it, and ultimately call it good. And that's the paradigm for the Sabbath that's still observed by Jews everywhere. And it's also what makes Sunday a special day of worship and rest for cultures that are shaped by Christianity. But Sabbath is not only a day of the week, it is a model and a rhythm and a practice of honoring rest and the gifts of renewal and wisdom that it offers. The commandment of God in the Hebrew Bible says, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Remember the Sabbath. The assumption seems to be that we will forget. And lo and behold, we do. So we must be intentional about remembering to honor the sacredness of Sabbath rest. Carl Honore, a journalist and author, wrote a book called In Praise of Slowness, which is also the title of his TED Talk that you may have seen. Carl notices that our culture is obsessed with speed. Right? We have fast food, speed dial, speed read, speed walk, and even speed date. And he calls our collective mindset about this the cult of speed, and says that in the headlong dash of daily life, we often lose sight of the damage that this roadrunner form of living does to us. We're so marinated in the culture of speed that we almost fail to notice the toll it takes on every aspect of our lives: health, diet, relationships, environment, community. Sometimes it takes a wake-up call to alert us to the fact that we're hurrying through our lives instead of actually living them, that we're living the fast life instead of the good life. And this cult of speed has real consequences, physical ones, as I mentioned earlier, and metaphysically, Honore says that speed becomes a way of walling ourselves off from the bigger, deeper questions of life. We fill our heads with distraction, with busyness, so that we don't have to ask ourselves, am I well? Am I happy? We might add, are the people I love well and happy? Is our relationship healthy? Is the planet we share well and happy? The slow movement, of which he is a part and which is an antidote to this cult of speed, is one that encourages people to shift to really living life instead of rushing through it. And the key is balance. The slow movement includes Slow Food, which is a large global organization you may have heard of, and it's a good practical example. Slow Food encourages people to slow down and enjoy food, the growing of it, the purchasing or gathering of it, the cooking of it, the eating of it, and the sharing of it. And the thinking behind that is that it could prevent the disappearance of local food cultures and traditions. It could counteract the rise of fast life and combat people's dwindling interest in the food they eat, where it comes from, and how our food choices affect the world around us. It claims to improve so many aspects of life, from enhanced personal health, stronger relationships and community, and not insignificantly, a more sustainable, just, and equitable planet. The slow movement, more generally, expands to include a number of practices like that, meant to get us to think about slowing down and breathing and being deliberate and enjoying life. It is another way of seeking rest and renewal. Thomas Merton wrote, "There is a pervasive form of contemporary violence, and that is overaction and overwork." He says the rush and pressure of modern life are a form, perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence. To allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone in everything is to succumb to violence. The frenzy of our busyness neutralizes our work for peace. It destroys our own inner capacity for peace. It destroys the fruitfulness of our work, because it kills the root of inner wisdom, which makes work fruitful. In his book, Sabbath, Finding Rest and Renewal and Delight in Our Busy Lives, Wayne Muller comments on this quote by Merton by saying that if busyness can become a kind of violence to ourselves, we do not have to stretch our perception very far to see that Sabbath time, effortless, nourishing rest, can invite a healing of the violence. When we consecrate a time to listen to the still small voices, we remember the root of inner wisdom that makes our work fruitful. We remember from where we are nourished, and we see more clearly the shape and texture of the people and things before us. He suggests that Sabbath is more than the absence of work. It's not just a day off when we catch up on television or errands. Rather, it is the presence of something that arises when we consecrate a period of time to listen to what is most deeply beautiful, nourishing, or true. It is time consecrated, which means set apart or made holy with our attention and our intention, our mindfulness, honoring those forces of grace and spirit that sustain and heal us. Every day, we have choices about how we spend each minute. Generally speaking, now this isn't true for everyone, but many of us are the architects of our own days and weeks and years. We determine when we wake up, unless we have children or pets or pain. And when we wake up, we choose what we prioritize as our activities and where we place the precious energies we have in the hours before we go to sleep again. Yes, we may need to work, and we certainly need to get things done, but we decide how and at what pace. We also get to decide how much we value the things we don't get paid to do or have to do because they're on some to-do list that generally we wrote for ourselves. Things like rest, thought, meditation, art, play, or novel thought, actually slowing down enough to enjoy this precious life we are given. I hate to think about the number of days that I have rushed through without even noticing the gifts and blessings all around me. I'm pretty sure that I've pissed God off, as Alice Walker would say, for walking by the color purple in a field somewhere and not noticing it, not stopping to appreciate it. If not literally, certainly metaphorically, because in my busyness, I miss way too much. And I know this up here. I'm actually not more productive for working so hard and fast and trying to multitask and meet every demand. I know this up here. When I take the time to rest, when I practice remembering and honoring Sabbath time, when I slow down enough to pay attention to the life I am living, I do much better work overall. Sometimes we think that if we cut corners and maximize efficiency or just get the right technology that will do more faster and easier, that we will accomplish more. But that is often simply not true. I also know up here that when I give myself permission to rest, I breathe easier, I think better, I'm more creative, not less. I do better work and I experience more enjoyment in that work, which I actually do love. I'm also a nicer person to the people around me. It's a countercultural act to measure our worthiness based not on some external assessment of our productivity, but on the quality of our simply being. It's a countercultural act to give ourselves permission to rest. There's an organization called the NAP Ministry that was founded in 2016 by a divinity student at Emory University named Tricia Hersey, who calls herself the NAP Bishop. And the slogan of the ministry is this: rest is resistance. Rest is resistance. The NAP ministry is largely supported by communities of color who name sleep deprivation as a racial and social justice issue with roots in the history of slavery. They believe that rest is a form of resistance to what they call a grind culture that attempts to make us all human machines and deny the divinity of who we are. In contrast to that, the NAP ministry offers a spiritual and artistic examination on the liberating power of rest outside the predominant model of capitalism and colonialism, which is exhausting. Now, the NAP ministry is for all, it's applicable for all, but it is a global movement from a Black lens. Hersey says that in addition to protesting and supporting Black-owned businesses and educating people about how to be anti-racist, rest is critical because it is counterintuitive and counter-narrative to see slowing down, napping, and rest as a key to the movement for Black liberation and liberation in general. But she claims that it really is so important because rest disrupts and pushes back against that kind of culture. That rest pushes back and resists. It allows us space for healing, for invention, and for us to become more human. She also says that rest will allow us to imagine this new world that we want. This new world that's liberated, that's full of justice, that's a foundation for us to really, truly live our lives. I need to spend more time learning and thinking about this justice-oriented way of viewing rest. But suffice it to say, there's something powerful there, I think, that aligns the personal need we all have for rest with the collective desire for another way of living together that is at once more embodied, more spiritually liberating, and more just. I'll end this reflection by going back to Alice Walker, who said, "You don't always have to be doing something. You can just be, and that's plenty." I hope that you've gotten something by listening to me talk to myself during this time. And I do hope that we might all be encouraged to give ourselves permission to rest. It is likely one of the best keys to health, renewal, creativity, and I'm increasingly persuaded, justice. So may it be so. Our closing song this morning is Go in Peace by Sam Baker.
Go in peace, go in kindness, go in love, go in faith. Leave the day behind us. Day is done. Go in grace. Let us go into the dark, not afraid, not alone. Let us hope by some good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Let us hope by some good pleasure safely to arrive at home.
Please join me in the extinguish of the chalice. Words will be in the chat box. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of the community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As we depart this time of worship, let us not leave behind the encouragement to rest, to honor our bodies, our minds, and our spirits' needs for space. Let us go encouraged to create time for ourselves to simply rest, be, and breathe. There is indeed much for us to do, and we will do it better if we pause and take the time we need to rejuvenate. Go in peace, go committed to peace, go seeking peace. Amen. Our virtual worship has ended, but our connection to one another and the earth endures. Go blessed to be a blessing for others.